Welcome, everybody, to the Enough to Keep Going podcast. This is episode number 25, coming to you on December 5th. Not December 25th. I guess it's the podcast Christmas, I guess. We can make it that. What the heck? It's cold, windy night here, at least for me in the Midwest. I don't know about you guys, but so it's getting that time of year now. We'll bring you some holiday cheer here. Not necessarily a holiday episode, but maybe it'll come up here in conversation. I'm your host, Osiris Prime. With me tonight, we have two special guests. Not different or anything, but they're special. I'm sure people have called them special at some point in their life. We have Mr. Agasicles. What's going on?
Hey, is that like a short bus special? Or
no, like your mom says, you're special. You're a special guy. You're my special guy.
All right. So it's funny to me that tonight DB and I both show up wearing headsets, and you have separate headphone and microphone tonight. Seems like we can never quite get it together.
It's never quite synced. No. And we have Mr. DBQ Hams.
I'm thinking that your mom Prime is probably the one who kept coddling you and telling you you're special. You'll be special someday. Someday you're gonna amount to something.
That's right.
You're my special snowflake. Yeah. Nope, not us. We're just here. So,
okay.
But we're glad to be here.
You're special to me. How about that?
Aw. Anyhow.
Anyway, tonight we got our playlist. Actually, it's our playlist podcast for December. We'll do a little bit more of a deeper dive into what we've been playing this past week, or even so, a little bit past that. So we'll start off with Mr. DBQ, which is first one's actually not a game itself, but game related.
No, yes. First one is not a game itself, but I was up way late doing video game related things on Sunday night. This is probably the groggiest I have been at work in a long time, but I stayed up late to go see a Zelda Symphony concert. So it was Zelda Symphony of the Goddess. It was about an hour away. It was a really cool symphony, right? So I have not had a chance to go to something like Video Games Live. I've seen videos of it, where there's a orchestra and choral live renditions of video game music and screenplay scenes from those games. And that was pretty much the setup for the Zelda Symphony, is that it stretched through all the different Zeldas at some capacity. Not a whole lot in the handhelds, although they did come back for an encore with Link's Awakening for the GB. But it went with my family. So my two sons, who are both big Nintendo fans and know the music, and my wife, who was happy to tag along with us geeks. And but actually she came away loving, she's a music fan, so loving the music, but also really appreciating the games. And the next morning she said, I want to play some of those. So my sons and I were talking about what games would be good for, what Zelda games would be good for a non-gamer to get into. But the way that they had cut them together was, it kind of told the story. It had a lot of the kind of interactions and cutscenes in Ocarina of the Temple of Time, and bringing the mages together, and the Ganon fight and music. That they had a lot of pieces there. So yeah, it was really interesting in terms of how they told the story through the cutscenes and the music.
So it's funny that you mentioned that that's needed for a non-Zelda fan, or a non-gamer, because I feel like even as a gamer, particularly with the Black Friday deals that went down on the Nintendo eShop, that I could have definitely used like a hand guide to what Zelda games I should play. I don't know if that would have actually made me buy any, but there were a lot of them for sale. Unfortunately, Swiss isn't on tonight because I know he picked up a couple that I was looking at. But I was looking at them, I was like, should I pick any of these up? And I know a couple of them just by like their art style, but then the rest I was like, I have no idea what sequence these go in, and I have yet to be able to stick with the game other than Breath of the Wild. So
that's okay. I mean, I have owned all of the Zeldas, or not all of them almost, but most of them at some point in time during my life, and I have not completed the majority of them, right? So enjoying a Zelda and sticking with a Zelda are not mutually exclusive, right? That they definitely you can do one without doing the other. But yeah, I think it was, my son and I kind of talked that morning, like, obviously Breath of the Wild is a great game regardless of if it's a Zelda game, right? And it's something that's relatively easy to get into. There's not a whole lot of there's a lot of systems, but not a lot of knowledge that you need to know before you get into it. But we ended up kind of settling on the 3D Link Between Worlds. So Legend of Zelda Link Between Worlds 2013, in part because it has kind of that classic top-down view. You know, my wife and I, the last time I think that she played video games, it was Mario Kart and Donkey Kong Country. So, you know, it's a little more accessible than having to know kind of the 3D dynamics, some gamer knowledge that comes just with navigating two analog sticks. And the nice thing about Link Between Worlds is it's that first time where they kind of break the formula of you need to go here to get this, you need to go then here to get that. You know, all the temples were open and you could rent the different weapons from a vendor for the right number of rubies. So that way it allowed you to kind of take them in any order that you wanted. And so it makes itself a relatively really accessible Zelda experience. So at that stage, I think 2013, it also won GameSpot's Game of the Year, right? As major sites are starting to talk about games, that became one of them. So, and actually, that is part of my back playlist as well, as I picked up or rented Persona 5 for the PlayStation 4 with a lot of Game of the Year talk. I wanted to kind of dig into it a little bit, and obviously with a 100-hour, 80 to 100-hour game like that, I was not going to get a whole lot of play within a week. But, you know, so it's been a little bit, and I've had a chance to play at least the first couple hours. It's a really cool stylized game. You know, you kind of know what you're getting into in terms of a Japanese anime turn-based RPG. But I think one of the things that allowed me to put it down or encouraged me to put it down was I don't know that I can sit after the year of the Switch. I don't know that I can sit on in front of a TV and a console for that long without having the availability to pick it up, take it with me, put it back down, dock it, play a little bit more. You know, that up and down aspect that the Switch provides me. So, you know, I did play Persona 3 on PSP. I played Persona 4 on Vita, and so I've enjoyed those games. But I think the lack of the portability option at this stage made it easier for me to move on to something else. So I can see where people appreciate it, but I also, knowing my own gaming styles and tastes in terms of balancing gaming and life, it's certainly nice to have the portability. So, and that is part of what else I played some more Mario Odyssey, right? The portability aspect of that. I was getting rid of my PlayStation Slim and needed to initialize that system, which takes a couple hours. And so I had some time to play some Mario Odyssey. And so I was able to do that and dig through some more there. So the final game that I played a little bit on was some Star Wars Battlefront 2. And I only kind of have picked it up here and there just to try to see where some changes are made, but it's been way too easy to put that game down. There's still systems that are inherently broken because of the star card aspect. And actually today, guys, that I had an email from EA that was soliciting feedback, right? That they asked me to take a survey about Star Wars Battlefront 2, and the survey was one question. On a scale of 1 to 10, would you recommend this game? Or how likely are you to recommend Star Wars Battlefront 2? And I will tell you, as I have told people in this podcast before, you know, even for Star Wars fans, it's not worth picking up at this stage, right? I think you could find it cheap later on, but the narrative is not as strong as it could be. As somebody who read the actual Inferno Squad novel, and the casual gameplay aspect, or even the hard, somebody who wants to invest time in the multiplayer, because of the star card nature of being able to, that it's skill based. I think that's a problem there. So I know I've been talking for a while, guys, but has anybody else got that email from EA? Did you guys get any other survey? I know you both probably have signed up for EA accounts at one point in time.
No, as far as I know, I haven't gotten anything yet. If it just came today, I haven't checked my email yet today, so I'm not sure. But I didn't really play too much of. I haven't played anything of Battlefront 2 other than the beta, so that might be why.
So do we think that it just came to purchasers of the game, or people who had registered for the beta, or people with whatever, right? I can't keep all the different bonus club activity card members.
Yeah, so I guess it would make sense that they would have, they've got data out on who's logged in, right? So I have played it on EA Access, so they would have my, I've logged in with my EA account there, so they would know that. I've also logged in with my EA account on the PlayStation 4 because I picked it up from GameFly, and I think this is a sign, right, for, you guys know how much of a Star Wars geek that I have been in the past as we've run down levels and locations. I had it sitting for a week on GameFly, and I only managed to play one round of multiplayer and one level of the story. So maybe just the sheer fact of those people that had logged in with their EA accounts, maybe that's where it went to. But hopefully they get some good feedback that they can do something. So, I think, we've definitely talked about the Battlefront issues here on this podcast before, so I don't need to dredge that up. But, I think that's just the reality of it. So one thing I did mention is that I was initializing my PlayStation for selling it because I have picked up a PlayStation Pro, but I have not had a chance to set it up yet. So, but Zeus, I know that you've had a chance you've set yours up and you've been playing. So what have you been playing on your Pro?
Yeah, no, it's funny because it's really serendipitous because literally as I walked back into the studio to sit down for the last time for the podcast, I grabbed my Xbox controller and a micro USB cable because earlier tonight I was also clearing off my Xbox One to sell because I also grabbed a Scorpio. And I haven't been gaming a lot because I have been going through this mass anti-hoarding effort and been making shuttle runs to Best Buy to trade a lot of excess stuff that I've aggregated over the years that I just never got around to getting rid of. So I guess maybe a week and a half before the Thanksgiving holiday, or maybe a couple weeks. I think probably Veterans Day weekend was around about when I started basically just going ahead and doing my 4K conversion. I forget exactly how it started, but it does a lot as it does with me a lot. It wound up just kind of tumbleweeding into me just wanting to do the whole thing, right? Because we've talked about there's a couple ways to go about it. You can get your TV first, right, and then kind of split your purchases up so you're not making a huge financial outlay all at once. And get your TV first and get sorted with that, and then get one of whichever 4K console you want, or both, or do it the other way around. And that's what a lot of the questions I see today are should I get the 4K console because I don't think I'm going to be able to afford to get the 4K TV for a while, and I don't know if the console is going to be worth the money in the interim. And we've been kicking that around in our own chat channels as well. But yeah, so I did get a PS4 Pro, and between that and the Scorpio, I will say the biggest thing that I encountered is, and I tweeted this out maybe a couple weeks ago. It's not just going on in TVs; it's going on all across tech. That's part of a little bit of what else I'm also doing in this getting rid of stuff and swapping some things out is getting kind of spun up for what my blogging approach is going to be next year. But especially in TVs, the manufacturers seem like hyper focused on burying things that are essential that users are going to need, like way deep in menus in places that you're never going to look. And I've been hit recently with this by doing this 4K conversion and dealing with the menus on the consoles and then the menus on the TVs, and then also seeing it in the recent smartphone updates between Android Oreo and especially iOS 11. And I have had several like very high blood pressure days, like looking for something that they've moved. And I'm like, why in the world would they have moved it there? But yeah, so the biggest thing on the 4K TV is when you get a 4K TV and a 4K console, I can almost guarantee you that when you first hook it up, and it's going to take you probably a few days, you're going to hook it up, you're going to play it, you're going to probably think it looks better, and then a few days later, you're going to go, maybe I should actually check and verify that like I'm getting all my 4K sweetness. And there are some, you can find these pretty intuitively. In the menus, you'll find a place where you can go and verify your 4K connectivity and HDR. And I can almost guarantee you that no matter what TV you get, that thing is going to say that you're not getting HDR. Then it's up to you, your TV manufacturer, and your TV manufacturer to sort out the problem. In my case, I'm on a Samsung TV. The issue was that in the picture submenu, which is where you would intuitively look, there's a clear setting to enable HDR. What you don't get is that under the general submenu, which you would never think to look in, there is another setting called external device configuration. And when you porpoise into that another level, you will see a by HDMI input enabler for HDR. But you'll never know that the HDR enabler is there because that is also underneath the individual HDMI channel. So after about 2 weeks of owning all this stuff, I finally figured out how to enable HDR and everything. It's slightly frustrating because I actually now need to go back and test and actually see what I'm getting. So, and I have done that with either console yet. I did watch they weren't 4K movies. I did watch 2 movies on my Xbox Scorpio. So I watched John Wick and Doctor Strange. They both look great. Neither of them were 4K movies. But if any of you guys own 3D TV sets, and I don't or saw your friends who had them, the weirdness of 3D TV sets I always thought was that even when you weren't viewing 3D content, the characters kind of seemed to like pop off the page, and it looked almost like I don't know if you guys saw The Hobbit, like the 48 frame per second weird looking Hobbit, that kind of looks almost like it's shot more like as a soap opera camera effect than cinematic movies. So it kind of looked like that. Yeah, go ahead.
Is that the motion smoothing that most places tell you to you got to dig to take off in your settings so that it's not filling in those frames, right? That it does that. I mean, is that different, or is it a 4K upscaling thing that it's trying to do?
I'm not sure. It's just when you I feel in games what causes that. To me, it's a feeling that there are layers in the picture, that it's not quite a 3D effect, but you can more clearly see and see the contrast and separation between objects that are close to you than further on, closer to you than further out. I feel like in games it's definitely much greater anti-aliasing, that those jagged edges are much more smooth, and you can more clearly see that separation. I don't know what it is. It's a mixture of HDR and the color variation and contrast, I think, is part of it. But yeah, so I definitely need to go back and do some of that testing. I don't know. So Prime, to get off of 4K TVs, you've actually been playing on mobile, which is very strange to me because I'm setting up new phones, and in that setup, I have no games on them at all, which is highly unusual for me. So how is it that you are getting into the mobile gaming space?
Well, I mean, I've always kind of been playing something here and there, but I usually just didn't mention it here. Like, obviously, I was playing Pokemon Go for a while. Well, I'm still playing it, and I play a few other games, but just kind of fill in here and there, like if I'm out and about or whatever. So, but I have been playing quite frequently, pretty much every day, really, is Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. And I have an Android phone. I have a Galaxy S7, and it seems to run fine on there. It drains my battery pretty quick, though. But other than that, it's working pretty good. It's not super huge, graphic intensive, but it's still probably like a little bit above like a GameCube or like Wii graphics. So I mean, it's pretty decent. It's Animal Crossing, so there's not like a lot going on the screen or anything. So it's pretty static. But it's pretty much. I mean, it's pretty much like an Animal Crossing on the Wii. I don't think there was one on the Wii U or back on the GameCube. You have, instead of a village and a city that you're in charge of, or that you're doing, you just have a little campsite that you can decorate. There's kind of like it's kind of split in half almost, like the main area that you're playing. So you can kind of have like your like a tent or something up on top, and actually you can do 2 as you progress up, 2 spots. And then there's just the main area where you can just put furniture, which is kind of weird. There's like just an open area where you can put furniture or whatever you want. So it's kind of weird, but that's fine. And then besides that, you also have an RV that you can Not only change the skins on the outside, so different colors or different patterns and stuff like that, but you can go on the inside and upgrade and furnish that too, so however you want. So that's cool. And then kind of the overall world, there's like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like about 6 different areas you can kind of jump to where you can do different activities. Where in the main games you usually were just able to do it like on your one world or city, whatever you want to call it. So now it's kind of like broken up. So you can fish and catch bugs in this place, and then you can just fish on one place and pick berries and do this other stuff, and it's kind of just segregated off, which I'm assuming they did just because they wanted to kind of separate it a little bit more than just having one big like hub area. So I've always liked Animal Crossing. I don't know about you guys. I don't know if you guys ever played. Well, I know. I guess because you probably never have. But DB, I don't know if you ever played it.
Yeah, I spent some time on the DS version back in the day.
Okay.
What was that? Wild World?
New Leaf? I think that was New Leaf.
No, New Leaf is the 3DS version. So even prior
okay.
to that. So yeah, I did. My sons have played New Leaf. Never really, but yeah. I was excited about when we watched the announcement for the mobile game. I was excited for being able to dig dirt, right? Catch bugs, dig dirt. There you go. That's Animal Crossing. So, but I have downloaded it, but I have not played it. So, but I've been listening to some people on podcasts talk about it. So, how's the time balance, right? I mean, I know that you can, to get certain furniture in your house, you've got to wait a certain amount of time before it's crafted,
Right.
or obviously you can pay. Have you been tempted to speed things up? Does it feel like it's rewarding as you wait for a chair or a couch or things like that? What keeps you coming back to it?
Yeah. So as you level up, obviously the time extends more. So like when you first start out, it's like a few minutes, and then 5 minutes, and then 6 minutes, and then it jumps to like an hour, and it kind of so on as you level up your character, and you level up your relationship with the different animals around the campsite and the other sites. So it does kind of ramp up, and it's not like a big jump, so it's pretty nice at first. Uh, and they give you stuff like as you level up, you get like furniture and some outfits and stuff like that. But and then just the regular crafting furniture. It's not too bad. Probably the most time is when you're upgrading your like your tent area, that you can upgrade like I think 3 or 4 times, maybe 5 times. I can't remember exactly right now. And then once you get to that certain upgrade, you can. So say you got like a tent, you can pick your different, I forgot what they're called. I guess you want to call them classes. It's like cool, cute, sporty, and something else. I think there's like 4 of them. So you pick one of those and you can main that, or you can switch between them if you want to, but you pick one at the onset. So say like I have cool and it's like a tent, just like a kind of a normal tent, and then you level that up to like level 3, and the next one actually jumps up in graphic um, aesthetics. Basically, it adds a couple things, and that takes, I think it was like 24 hours the first time I jumped up, and then like the next one is like 48 hours. So I think I might have hit 72 hours at one point on one of them. So it does jump up at one point, but I didn't really feel like I had to like use my leaves is what is the kind of like the currency in there. And you get those here and there. I've seemed to got a pretty good amount while I'm playing, and it's not like I'm just sitting there for like hours playing this. I just hit it for 10, 15 minutes, and then I'm doing something else. So it doesn't feel like you're forced to buy these things or use those leaves to up the ante. And obviously the leaves is what you can spend real world money on, and obviously you get more if you spend however much, $2, $3, $4, $5, whatever it is. I haven't even looked, so I've never been tempted so far to buy anything.
So you've been playing that, but that's obviously not taking up all your time. So what else have you been playing?
No, I have not. So back to Nintendo, a little bit more Nintendo talk here. So I've been, of course, playing the Switch. That's all I ever play now anymore. I think I've turned on my Xbox One, well, a couple times over the last few weeks, just so my kid can play Minecraft. And actually, I've been having problems with that lately too. Maybe I'll get to that later if we have time. But I have been playing Skyrim, going through that. Most of the time, I've been playing in handheld mode, but last couple times, excuse me, I actually docked it only because I was starting to run out of battery. I didn't have my charger near me, so I threw it in the dock and I was playing like that. And I mean, it looks great even in the dock mode. I think that was probably the first time. I think it was like a week and a half ago when I actually docked it and I was playing it. So it looks just as good as it does on handheld mode. So I know some people said there's a big difference in between the two. I don't really see it. I don't know. So I don't know if they got like a super duper TV or something. I just got a 1080p. I don't have a 4K or anything. So maybe it's 4K. It might look a little crappier. Maybe, I don't know. Just because it's, you might.
It definitely does. Lesson learned.
Oh, okay.
Do not hook your Nintendo Switch up to a 4K TV.
Yeah, you mentioned this a couple weeks ago, so say more about this, because right now I've got my Switch hooked up to a 1080p, but if I was going to pick up a 4K TV, as we were just talking about, with should I not hook my Switch up there? What's been your experience?
I would say if you have the option, don't. Like if you're buying a 4K TV and it's replacing like the TV where you have all your consoles and it's a pain to put it somewhere else, then sure. But I also transitioned from 32-inch 1080p TVs to a 40-inch 4K TV. So first of all, realize that making that jump from 32-inch to 40-inch and still being at 1080p would have still made me believe that the Switch looked worse, right? Because you're going to a larger screen with the same resolution. But making that jump in size with a resolution jump, my belief is it doesn't look good on a 4K TV. It's the same effect as taking an old console and putting it on. It's the same as taking a Super NES Classic and putting it on a modern TV, right? It's not what it was designed for. It doesn't look, to me, it doesn't look as good. So yeah.
Oh, that's
it just looks lower res, and the color accuracy also I feel like is off. Now again, that might be because I have the HDR mode enabled on my TV. But yeah, it to me particularly playing something like Doom, definitely looks better playing it on a smaller screen with greater pixels per inch than you're going to have on a larger display.
Do the colors look like more washed out, or?
Yeah, because it feels to me like the pixels aren't as dense. I feel like you lose some of the color accuracy.
All right. Yes, that's good to know. Not that I'll get a 4K TV anytime soon, but at least I don't think I will.
DB, have you had a chance to hook yours up and
No, because I have not picked up a 4K TV. So,
okay,
yes. So no, I have not. But I can totally see that. That the fact that the resolution, even just when I've switched between a 32-inch, 720 and a 55-inch 1080, there's a difference there when you're hooking up that same system. So I can see that. But
and you may have said it. So, and if you don't want to answer, I apologize for putting it. Because you and I have been talking about this in the background on the team chat quite a while. So did you just not find a model that hit the right price point that you wanted over the Black Friday, or?
Yeah, so Prime, we're gonna step on you and
no, sorry.
just talk about some TVs for a little bit here. No. So yeah, so I had scoped out some 4K TVs, right? Because this is part of the gaming experience, is to figure out what that next step up is. And I had looked at two different TVs. One being a Sony, which was on sale. It was a beautiful full array in terms of lighting, but it was $1,000 on sale. And even with the numerous Best Buy gift cards that I have stacked up, it was hard to justify that. So after scourging reviews and Reddit, that I had decided on TCL, which a 55-inch there, HDR, and not a full array backlit, but a larger number of zones than others in its price point. And so that was around $600, but it never went on sale and still has not gone on sale. So if it hits a sale between now and Christmas time, sure, I've still got my gift cards and I'm ready to do that. But I did pull the trigger on a PS4 Pro, mainly because one day, I think maybe the Sunday after Thanksgiving, that it was $50 off and included Destiny 2. So that was, I was choosy in my price points, and so I figured I could get by with boost mode for a while and some better frame rates, and wait for the Super Bowl time and pick up a TV then.
And quicker load times.
Yes. Yeah. So that was my rationale. So it was both a matter of price and really that's what held me back.
So with the TVs coming out now, like the new ones that are being released, do you still have to be cognizant of like which one you gotta buy? Because I know with the Xbox One, well, with at least the Xbox One, maybe not the Scorpio, but you had to like get like a certain like 4K TV or something like that. So I don't know if that's still the case.
I think I guess I'll answer first, but then I'll turn it over to you, Zeus, because you actually have one. So as I've been looking, no, I don't think that it's been. I think the biggest piece there, if I'm thinking about gaming, is as Zeus has said, it's HDR, is looking for something with HDR, and then it becomes a quality in terms of the amount of from what I've seen, and both in person and reading online, the kind of the way that it's lit behind in terms of the number of zones, whether it's lit around the edges or around the full back, that seems to, a lot of it stems from how black your blacks get in terms of some of that color is from what I've seen. So, but I don't have a 4K TV, so I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, and by no means am I subject matter expert, right? Because I went with a pretty low cost. Cost was more pertinent. Cost in getting over the 4K threshold was more pertinent to me than buying the one TV that's going to last me for like forever, right? I guess my approach on these things is more so buying a thing to get into the market, and then if that means that I do a mid-cycle upgrade as prices come down, then I'm fine with that. I think you're pretty safe now. I think what you might be thinking about Prime is like a lot of new tech markets capabilities wise. When these things first hit, they frequently hit before a spec is standardized that the industry agrees on. So for a long time we didn't have this term UHD, which is more defined now as a specification, and what exactly 4K was kind of wonky as well. But then I also think HDR was kind of a hidden and unspoken of additional capability that is the thing that really makes the difference, and it wasn't heavily advertised as a capability. Refresh rates, I'm not certain on refresh rates. I think now you're pretty safe that all of these 4K TVs are going to have a 120 or 144 hertz refresh rate, but it's something to take a look at.
Yeah, there's still a lot out there at 60.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yep. No, and it's but I've also found that some people don't have a problem with 60, but yeah, 120 still seems to be the desired spec, but it's going to move you up in price too. The other piece, so Zeus, I was going to ask you about this, but the other piece is HDMI 2.1, right? So there is, on some units, only some of your HDMI ports are the more modern ones, and some are just the standard HDMI. Has that run into anything?
So I haven't run into that. I have run into simply just that it's an HDMI 2.0 or 2.1 spec, and it's hard for me to know whether or not it really makes a difference. Just in terms of when I initially hooked my PS4 up and dug into its menu and found that thing that said you're not HDR compatible, you're not getting all of your 4K capability. I worried a bit that I needed an HDMI 2.0 or above spec cable, because when I hooked my PS4 Pro up, I didn't use the cable that came in the box. I used whatever HDMI cable I had connected to whatever device off the back of the TV at the time. So I eventually brought that specific cable out. I don't know that it makes a difference or that people are running into it. On my Samsung TV, all of those ports are the same spec. The only thing I would say is just use the cable that comes in your box, just in case that might be an issue in terms of compatibility of your cables, and having all the connectors wired that use all the capability for that.
Well, that's good to know. As somebody who just undid their PS4 Slim and is about to over the weekend probably hook up a PS4 Pro, I kept my HDMI there. I'm gonna have to switch out the power cords because those are different.
Right.
But maybe I'll dig that HDMI out and put it there. But I also am probably going to end up spending my weekend playing the game that just came for me from GameFly, which is Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which also has been having some conversations about whether it runs better docked or undocked. And so that's where I want to go back to your tagline here, Prime is what does your tag mean, right? To dock or not to dock. So what's been going on? What's been your experience with things like Skyrim?
Yeah, like I was mentioning before, like I said, I didn't see too much of a difference. But another thing I wanted to mention when I had it docked, I tried to do the just the Joy Cons again. I know I had mentioned that I think like a couple weeks ago, where I couldn't get into it, but actually I figured out a way that it actually works now. I have to have a pillow on my lap, and I can rest my hands on that pillow because that gives me the stability that I can move around. And so just
Old man
that's right.
Prime.
So let me ask you, Prime. Now, so there are, might even argue that I am famous for going out of my way to do things simply to prove they can be done. So my question to you is that, are you doing that because it's comfortable, or are you just doing it because you feel that, again, these are things that I do as well. Are you doing it because you feel the need to like justify all of the purchase price of the Switch by using the controllers in like every feasible configuration and usability way possible?
Yeah, I just wanted to see if I can actually do it, because the first time I tried it, it was the I just had it like in the air, and there's no way I could play like that. I even tried it again at first, and I couldn't do it. And usually when I play undocked, I do have a pillow on me, just so it's a little bit more comfortable when I have the Switch system on my lap. So, and then I was just figuring, like, oh, I just thought like, hey, let me try it that way, and it worked. It was fine. The using it with the bow and arrow though, I don't know. It seemed, and maybe you can adjust this in the settings. Like it was a little too loose, like when I'm trying to aim, so it was like kind of going all over the place. So I don't know if there's just a sensitivity setting I have to adjust. But
have you played Doom?
No, I don't have that yet. But
so yeah, I'm not sure if it's too loose or not. I know for me with Doom, however the controller axes are configured, what it feels like is that it's got too big of a dead space. But then it gets really sensitive as I move towards the outer edges of the controller axis. So I feel like I'm moving in the middle and I'm not getting any response. But then all of a sudden, as I get out towards the edge, like it snaps over. So I haven't. Have you gone in and tried to calibrate things like that at all? Because I haven't.
No, I haven't tried that yet. I actually just thought about it. Like I'm hoping there's a sensitivity setting that I can adjust for that.
All
but
right.
I know you can turn it all the way on and off, but I don't know if you could just adjust it. But hopefully you can, because it wasn't too bad as I was doing it, but it was just like too wild. So
right.
see.
I guess another thing I wanted to ask you with playing undocked. So you mentioned you put the thing. Have you tried like a few years ago? I got my wife. I have numerous times throughout our marriage like arranged for her to have like an office nook or a table or something where she could put her laptop. She consistently insists on sitting like on a couch or something or somewhere to always work on her laptop. It drives me nuts. So finally I bought her one of these. I feel like they're goofy, but one of these like laptop lap tables with like it's like a wood surface with like a cushion underneath it. Have you tried one of those?
No, I haven't tried one of those.
I haven't seen one of those since like 1996. Man.
They still make them.
Yeah, no, I've seen them out there. No, I haven't tried. I haven't tried that. I probably won't try that. I think I'll pretty much either put it in the grip or use my Pro Controller going forward. I mean,
I can send you mine for Christmas. It's got a cool teal checkered pattern that was all the rage.
Hey, that'd be kind of like Animal Crossing. There you go. Just slap a sticker on there. But yeah, no, I'll probably just go back to the grip or the Pro Controller more than likely. I might try it again, like once or twice, but it's just a little awkward. I'll try to play around and see if I can calibrate those settings. And then just real quick, the last game I had played, actually docked and undocked, now that we're talking about it, is Rocket League. I've been playing a bunch of that this past week, and oddly enough, it's weird, but it looks worse when it's undocked, and I don't understand that. I don't know if it just didn't optimize it for that, but you can see
looks
like
worse.
Yeah,
undocked. Yeah, okay.
So
that makes sense.
The ball is like really jaggy. You can see it even when it's kind of up close. The car you can kind of see is a little jaggy, and you kind of see like the like a black border around it, basically. And some
do you notice any frames drop? I mean, is it a lower frame per second, or do they sacrifice graphical clarity for the sake of keeping it at 30 frames?
Yeah, so that's the thing. It runs smoothly. I mean, other than that, I mean, it's just graphically, and now unless I'm like really looking for it and looking at it, I really notice it. But otherwise, I'm just I'm just playing. So, and I think what was it, a couple nights ago when I actually docked it for the first time with Rocket League, and I just couldn't believe it. I was like, "Whoa, holy cow! It looks way better." But yeah, I don't know why how that happened, or because I think the team or the company that well, I guess they would have done it themselves. Maybe I'm thinking of another game that when they ported it, it seemed to be worse when it was docked, or I'm sorry, when it was undocked. But yeah, it's just kind of weird that um, it works out that way. But like I said, I mean, it still runs like super smooth, so there's no slowdown or anything like that, or like jagginess or lag maybe if you're online. But I mean, that kind of goes depending on the connection and who you're playing with. But I do have the cross play on. You can turn it on and off, so I can play with people on the PC and on the Xbox 360. So,
Oh, so that's an option you can turn on and off?
yep.
Oh, wow! I would have never expected them to put that in there.
Hey, that was
I
kind
would
of
have thought,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't even know it. I didn't even know it until I forgot what podcast I was listening to. It might have been NBC, IGN's Nintendo
Yep.
podcast where they had mentioned that. I was like, oh, okay. So I went and looked for it. I was like, oh yeah, there it is. But I just leave it on. That's fine. I'd probably have to say like 95% of the time I'm playing with somebody on another system because it just says like Cynet or something like that for a Psyonix, network, obviously. But I probably only played one, maybe 2 or 3 games at the most with like a full complement of just Nintendo players. So, but at this run, it's running fine. So I don't have any problems with it, and that's kind of just brings the longevity into the game itself. So even if the gaming on the Switch itself maybe kind of dies down, I also have the other systems that I can connect to. So it's cool. I'm liking it. I don't know. Have you guys bought it or tried it on the Switch?
It's still on my list, so I haven't gotten around to it yet. So I got held up a little bit because I bought Elite Dangerous using my Best Buy discount club thingy, but
Nice.
they didn't have physical copies in the store, so it's supposed to show up tomorrow. So I kind of hit the pause on getting anything else. Although I did grab Wolfenstein 2 for the Xbox. But I haven't gotten around to Rocket League is still on my list to get, and I might have to add Xenoblade Chronicles as well.
So, but you haven't played that, but you set up all these systems that we've talked about. So, what have you played anything besides just tech support, or have you had a chance to play games?
No, I played a lot while I was not getting 4K HDR out of my blasted damn TV. But yeah, so I actually played a lot of Prey, and I think I talked about that on last week's show as well, and that continued. I'm actually set up, and I played that. It's a lot of herky jerky. I played it. So like I said, I'm stripping gear down. I had said I was going to get rid of the PlayStation 4, but I wound up keeping it because I got rid of some other stuff So I played the big chunk of Prey that I played prior to last week's show. I played on the OG PS4. I'm currently connected to my PS4 Pro to record some Let's Plays of Prey, but I haven't gotten to it this week. Before I mention the thing that you and I played, DB, I want to ask you. So it was a little weird to me. So you've got your PlayStation 4 Pro.
I own it. Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, so you did your data transfer from your OG. You didn't.
No, nope. I backed it all up either through the cloud or on a flash drive. So
Okay.
I'm assuming I'm going to re-download my games, but I went through and actually I did it probably prior to Thanksgiving because I was anticipating this.
Okay.
And then I went back and just backed up the ones that had most recent data. But yeah, I because I have it cloud syncing backups, a lot of those were doing it along the way. But then also because I have my sons also on the system, that I stuck theirs on a flash drive. So no, I did not do that. So did you do that? Did you sync them together?
I did that.
Okay.
I did that for both the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One Scorpio. I found that I believe, just based on physics, that is better, just because you're transferring the data locally. rather than bringing it down from the cloud. But for people planning on doing that upgrade, just be aware that when you bring your new 4K console home, you ain't gaming on it like in the first 2 to 4 hours, right? You're gonna getting the initial updates is sizable, and then getting all your games over, especially if if your games are spilled over from your onboard drive onto an external drive. Yeah, it's gonna be a while. It's probably the first night is probably gonna be transferring all your stuff and getting all your updates.
So the PS4 have kind of like the Scorpio or not Scorpio, Xbox One X, where it had like the 4K separate upgrades that you had to download for each game, or not really? Or is it more of going forward? They had here, this is pro,
no,
optimized.
They do. It is not as in your face as the Scorpio. So on the Xbox, at least on the fall update, on the Xbox, there is a specific configuration setting that you set under settings that under system updates that tell it to always automatically go and grab the 4K updates. There's like 3 options on that screen, and the bottom check mark specifically calls that out. I don't believe that there's a setting like that for the PlayStation 4. It just autonomously decides to do it or not based on the games that you have on the console that you're on. I don't remember telling it to go get those upgrades. And I will also say, when I set up my PlayStation 4 Pro, I remember those 4K upgrades being a specific thing that I could visibly see going on the Xbox, and that taking additional time. I don't remember that. And it probably was doing it in the background, but it just didn't put it at the UI level where it bugged me. Well, I shouldn't say that. What really bugged me about the Scorpio is after doing so I clicked that on my original Xbox, processed what looked like all of my updates, including getting the latest operating system upgrade, and then set up my Scorpio. My Scorpio went and grabbed a crap ton of updates, but for whatever reason, between getting the Scorpio's updates and doing the data transfer for my OG Xbox One, when I went to play games, they still didn't have the 4K updates. So when I brought up Gears of War 4 for the first time, it still gave me a bunch of Sturm and Drang about needing to go grab the 4K updates, and that I had to go and do something else while I waited for that when I had time blocked off to play Gears of War 4. So just another thing to be aware of. Whereas on the PlayStation 4, I feel like I synced the 2 and they transferred all the games and everything. And when it came time to play, I put the thing in boost mode and all the 4K stuff was there. I don't remember it kicking into an additional file update for that.
Cool.
So real quick, I guess my last thing, and I'll try and go quickly since we're 2 minutes over time now. DBQ and I did play a little Uncharted 4 multiplayer last week, which we hope to do more of and hope to get the community involved. Yes, but saying we played it is a loose term.
We did play it. We're not very successful, but we certainly played it. So this was our first time, both of us, playing multiplayer in Uncharted 4.
That was actually my first time playing Uncharted 4 at all. I have Lost Legacy, but I had said I wanted to, because when you buy Lost Legacy, Uncharted 4 suddenly shows up as discounted by like $20. And I also had my $10 big releases discount or whatever that I had to use by the 30th of November. So fortunately, this forced me to go use it before it expired. But yeah, so I had just downloaded the game entirely.
So yeah, I mean, I think actually it was a pretty reasonable experience for a multiplayer game that's sitting here a year old at least, right? This was Uncharted 4 was big 2016 game, a lot of Game of the Year awards for it, but then multiplayer, as I was waiting for you, I had a chance to dive into a little bit of the online multiplayer aspects and found a game relatively quickly, didn't take too long, and could dive in there. But we played a little bit of the Horde mode, is that right? Well, I can't remember what it was called,
so it's called Survival Mode, which was really cool. Again, didn't know it was there. I had this impression that it was just competitive, that it was just PvP essentially. So really interesting because although it doesn't have the persistence-ish stuff that Destiny does, I felt like that co-op mode is just as viable as like running fire teams in Destiny.
Yeah, I mean, I think the benefit of somebody who, you know, the nice thing about running a fire team in Destiny is that ideally it gives you a chance to kind of shoot the breeze, but also to have a little bit of focused gameplay at the same time, right? That sometimes you have to do something more than just kind of randomly shoot, and that certainly was the case, right? That sometimes in those first few waves we cleared them out relatively easy once we knocked the difficulty down a little bit. I guess that was pretty hard. But as the waves kept getting longer and longer, you know, there were more modifiers thrown into it. And it's certainly, you know, we were not only kind of learning the map and doing callouts in terms of locations, but it kind of forced us to play the game a little bit as differently as those waves came in. So, and you've got that recorded and posted, right?
I do. So that is up on my YouTube channel, Rounding Off Affinity. You can see that down here in my lower third. We're still working out the science in the mix. Obviously, I would definitely like to get those posted over to the E2KG, to the the E2KG Network YouTube channel. Still sorting out some kinks with voice chat. I was using an Elgato voice chat table, our chat link, I think they call it, and I thought that would completely solve the problem, but and I also recorded to an AGP Tech VG0020 video capture HD external device. On both cases, I got on one I got my voice chat, on another I got your voice chat DBQ. I wound up going with I don't know what that was. I wound up going with mine simply because that was a unitary file of the whole thing, whereas the AGP Tech VG0020 has a 2 gigabyte file max. So I had like 3 different videos, and I was like, I'm not. I just didn't have time to mesh all the sync up all the voice. I could have taken the 2 video files and done a big video edit, but last week was not the week for that. So, but yeah, it was good. We definitely need to get Swiss in there because you definitely need 3 for survival mode. I don't know why survival mode seems so hard, but it is. So.
Yeah, I'm not feeling too bad that you didn't bring my audio file in, because really here I'll give listeners a sample of what it was. Ha! Oh, where'd he come from? Oh, I'm dead again. Ah, you know, that was pretty much it.
Actually, can I jump in real quick? I did watch like 5 or 10 minutes of it, and I was able to hear you, DB, but it was like super quiet. If I had headphones on, I could pretty much hear you, but otherwise, like if you had it on a TV or something, there's probably no way you would have been able to hear you at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping it was something that I did wrong on the PlayStation and not in my recording equipment. I'm hoping it's just I just need to go onto the PlayStation and change the balance on the chat channel, and I could hear it fine, but it didn't capture well enough. But yeah, DB, I don't think your voice chatter was any worse than mine, and just complete surprise and frustration and consternation and trying to figure things out. I mean, the difficulty was there, but we were also just trying to figure out like the mechanics and understand like how we were supposed to play the game. But I could definitely say there was a feeling that was going on in the first 15 minutes, but by the last 15 minutes, and I think we played for basically an hour. By the last 15 minutes, we were, even though we may not have been doing well, we were definitely having more fun than we were in the first 15. So.
Yes, we totally understood the mechanics better, and I think I think it was a lot of fun, right? I said I would be happy to come back and do this. Found myself wanting to play more the next day. You know, I think that moving into next year, this will be a great feature that we can add to viewers for the E2KG network in terms of some ride-alongs and play sessions, and or at least the ability to hear us make fools of ourselves as we dive into games that we should or shouldn't understand how to play.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get some other games in there. Definitely probably get some Destiny. Definitely get some things going on the Switch. Although I feel like I worry about on the Switch with the voice chat setup that I'm going to have like 5 times as many cables strung all over the place to try and record that.
What was the max people you can have in that mode? Do you know?
It's 3, which I thought was really interesting. Yeah. After all the discussion of like the uniqueness of Destiny's 3-person fire teams, I thought it was interesting to see that survival mode was for 3 people and not 4, right? Because Horde mode in Gears of War is 4 people, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know in Halo it was.
Yeah, it just seems like typically those squads are typically oriented around 4 people, and there's a lot of discussion around Destiny, but 3 people kind of inherently makes a slightly different gameplay dynamic.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other thoughts on Uncharted? All right, and I do love the I did like your cliff dive off the cliff there. I guess at the beginning. I think that was just a mistake. You were backing up and you kind of just fell off. That's fine.
Well, there was a cliff dive, and then Swiss says that he saw a Tarzaning in an opening of one stage. So I guess one cool, one not so cool.
Yeah, it's all right. All right, guys. I think we're gonna wrap it up here for episode number 25. Any other thoughts on any games you might have played or going to play soon here?
No, lots of conversation about games for next week, though, right? That'll be a big wrap-up show.
Yes, got our end of the year extravaganza next week. Not game of the year talk yet, or I should say not really. We kind of do more of a kind of a rundown of things throughout the year and kind of a game show type feel that you'll see next week, next Tuesday. So we'll do that, and then I think next year we'll go through kind of like the year in review, just kind of go over different stories and stuff. Go through that. As for me, there actually was one more game that I actually played docked, which was Fate Extella, which is kind of a Dynasty Warriors type game, and that is much better when it's docked because there's just so much going on the screen in that game. And same thing with Fire Emblem Heroes, Fire Emblem Warriors, which you got right here. That's much better when you have it docked, just because there's too much going on to have it on that little screen. So it's playable, but it's much better when it's docked. So with that, I think we will shut this show down here for tonight. So please join us. Well, actually, join us Thursday. We'll be on our new show, E2KG in 30. I believe it is myself, Swiss, and I guess Cleese. I think you're on that show too. We'll go over through 30 minutes. We'll go through the news for the past week or so, and DB can't join us on that one. He had to switch out this week with that one. And then
that'll be our last news show of the year.
Yep. For the year, yep. And then come back next Tuesday. Like I said, we'll have our year-end extravaganza, and then that'll be it for the year. We'll take a break for the holidays and come back in January. I don't remember. Did we have a date yet coming back next year?
I had pitched January 9th, so
okay. So we should be able to come back January 9th, and that'll probably be our kind of year-end review show. I'm assuming we'll get back on track, and like they mentioned, like I guess Cleese and DB mentioned, maybe we'll get some more Let's Plays in there and do some different things throughout the year next year. Just get some more stuff going on the E2KG network. So on behalf of myself, Osiris Prime, I guess Cleese and DBQ Hams, we will see you next time.